We are 20 days away from the NFL trade deadline, and it is looking increasingly likely that some of your favorite Dolphins players are going to be moved on. This team is in a really bad position. Don't need to hammer that home. 1-5 on the season. Next year, you're very likely looking at a new head coach, GM combination who are going to want to pick their own guys, that are going to want to spend their money how they see fit. So, going out now for the rest of the season, it could be a massive clearing out from some of the talent on this Dolphins team. And it starts with Jaelan Phillips, we've seen a lot of talk on social media today about Jaelan Phillips being moved on. Jaelan Phillips, just the talent, we know the talent is there. However, this season, only 1 sack, 7 total tackles on the season. You combine him and Chop Robinson, first-round picks the Dolphins have used in recent years at the edge position, and both have been extremely disappointing. 2 sacks between the two of them. And with Jaelan Phillips, his contract is up. The Dolphins have to make a decision on him after this season, whether you want to extend him, whether you want to walk. In an ideal world, if he does walk, you get something for him. And I do believe there is still some value for Jaelan Phillips. You're not going to recoup the first-round pick that you spent on him, the injuries that he has sustained, the fact that you're going to have to pay Jaelan Phillips likely means you're getting a day 2 pick, probably a 3rd-round pick for Jaelan Phillips. The injuries have seriously hampered what he has been able to do with his Dolphins team. You're looking at back-to-back season-ending injuries with the torn Achilles, with the torn ACL, and then this year, whether it is he doesn't trust his body, whether he isn't still 100%, whether it just be the state of this defense in general, he is not performing. In a contract year, in a must-succeed year where you have to show Dolphins brass that you are worth the money that some of these other edge rushers are getting. If you're worth over $20 million, $25 million, the ridiculous numbers of $30 million, you got to go out on a contract year and prove it. And Jaelan Phillips absolutely has not done that. I hate to see him go because if you just look at recent history, he's probably going to go somewhere else and succeed. You look at the draft picks used by Chris Greer, you're looking at even guys from within that own draft class. You're looking at Javon Holland, who's gone on to the New York Giants now, and it hasn't been as good as his first initial years with this Dolphins team. However, just that Giants team has clear juice right now. I believe he's a captain with the Giants. You're looking at another safety. You're looking at Brandon Jones, who's gone on to the Denver Broncos and had success. You're looking at Andrew Van Ginkel with the Vikings. You're looking at multiple cases of Dolphins players that we have drafted, that we have nurtured, go on and have success on other teams. So, likelihood is if we move them on, that's what's going to happen. Another name that I would really hate to see leave, as I was wrong about this man. I was wrong after we drafted him. I said there's no way that he could sustain the touches to be a workhorse running back. And you know what? I put my hands up and say I was fully incorrect about that. Devon Achane doesn't have the frame of a traditional running back. However, he finds the end zone. He's scored just about a touchdown a game in his NFL career. He scored a touchdown a game so far this year on a really bad Dolphins team that have been stripped of any sort of real juice on the offensive side of the ball. That has not stopped him from finding the end zone, has not stopped him from finding around 600 yards so far. He is on pace for a 1,700-yard season, a 17-touchdown season. He's not just a great player on this Dolphins team. He's a great player across the NFL. Now, will a more traditional head coach come in and diminish the role of Devon Achane? I think there's a very good chance that they would. And the reason I bring up a traditional head coach is that's what all the reports are right now that Stephen Ross would like. He would like a Rex Ryan. He would like a John Gruden. If Harbaugh somehow becomes free from the Baltimore Ravens, easily number 1 connection to be made there with the Miami Dolphins. I think that is the direction that this franchise will go once they move on from Mike McDaniel. Is that traditional head coach going to want to come in and basically use his number 1 running back as a slot wide receiver, which at times Devon Achane has done for this Dolphins team? If you're being negative, you could say his role is to be a check down guy for Tua. If you want to be positive, you could say, well, that's where he thrives. He's not the between the tackles guy, which me looking at it back then, before we saw Mike McDaniel actually do it, you assume that, unfortunately, a lot of his touches would end up being between the tackles. And that was just, me putting some blinders on, not really seeing the big picture of what potentially Mike McDaniel could do with Devon Achane. And he's gotten the most out of Devon Achane. I think he's an incredibly talented player. But again, you're coming up not this offseason, but the following season is a contract year for Devon Achane. You will have to pay him. This Dolphins team obviously isn't going to be good for the remainder of this season. Is the Dolphins team going to be good at the end of next season? And then the cash really hits after next season. So when you know you're not a good football team and you finally have money to spend, are they going to want to spend it on a running back? Are they going to want to spend it on a 5'9", 185-pound running back? I don't think they're going to. I would love to see him staying around. He is somebody that I'm going to mention here that I would not like to see this Dolphins team trade. I would like to see us hold on to him from a little bit longer, even if it is just out of an entertainment perspective of when he gets the ball, he's electric. This Dolphins team obviously isn't going to be good over these next this next rest of the season, but he is. And he is going to be electric just as he has so far this season. He's also somebody, though, that if you do move him, you could get good compensation for him. Now, every time I try to predict what a player is going to go for, it seemingly goes wrong. I think Jalen Phillips could go for a late day 2, early day 3 pick. I think that makes a lot of sense when you combine his injury history with the lack of success this year, but still understanding he's a talented player who is young. Devon Achane, though, however, is the opposite. I think he will go for more than what we initially drafted for him. I think you're looking at a potentially like a 2nd and a 5th round pick, maybe if you're lucky, like a 1st and a 6th round pick. Certainly not, Tyreek Hill level of 2 firsts and whatever else Tyreek Hill was traded for. But you're looking at a game-changing player that you just simply want to get the ball in his hands in space. And if you send him to a team that has money to spend, like the Washington Commanders are currently the oldest team in the league. But if you look at the breakdown of where they're spending their money, it's a lot of short-term deals for guys at the end of their career. Looking at Bobby Wagner, looking at Von Miller, looking at Zach Ertz. You're looking at players that their prime was years ago now, and they got one last stop on a Commanders team that could make it out of the NFC. Probably not looking like it. But once those contracts are off the books, you still have a young core around Jaden Daniels, then there's going to be some money to spend there. I think if you get a good return from Devon Achane, if you can get a 1st-round pick and use it on an offensive lineman, use it at a cornerback piece, I don't like it, but at the very least, I'd understand it. So we talked about 2 younger players that could garnish some pretty good return with Bradley Chubb and Devon Achane. Now 2 older players that, just looking at their contracts, I think they got to go. Make it a little bit easier for the rebuild process. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Bradley Chubb. The 2 of them are top 6 in terms of money per season on this Dolphins team. Minkah Fitzpatrick only has 1 year beyond this season where he's under contract with his Dolphins team. However, Bradley Chubb, you're looking at 2 or 3 more seasons. There is an option in 2028 when it comes to Bradley Chubb, but he gets really expensive after this season. The Dolphins backloaded his contract, which they did with a few contracts, trying to optimize the years in which Tua's under his rookie deal. He's only being paid $12.3 million this year. However, that skyrockets to $31 million, a little bit over $31 million the following 2 seasons. Look, with Bradley Chubb, you just take what you can get. If you flat out cut him after the season, you're looking about $36 million in dead cap. But he is still a good player. He had a good beginning of the season, had a sack in each of the first 3 games. He's since fallen off a little bit since then, but let's be real, who on this Dolphins defense hasn't? That is money you have to get off the books. If you get a 6th or a 7th for him, you take it. Meanwhile, Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be a little bit easier on the books for whatever team would bring him in. You're looking at only a $4 million cap hit this year, which obviously, since he's already been paid a good amount of that, by the time he's traded, you're going to be looking around the about $2.8 to $3 million range. I don't really know how these contracts are broken down in season, but you're looking about $3 million for whatever team brings him in, which would be very cap friendly for this year. He is owed around $19 million next year, but if you're a team that's in a bit of a pinch, you could just cut him, and you do have to eat about $13 million of that $19 million. But for this season, he's still a good player and not very expensive. For the 2 of them, you're probably looking at a mid to about a mid day 3 pick each. You're looking probably like a late 5th, an early 6th each. Those are just guys you're like, look, take it. Give us something a little bit nice in return. Maybe if with Bradley Chubb, because of how bad his contract is beyond this season, it's like you give us a sixth and we'll give you a seventh and Bradley Chubb just to take him off the books. But those two moves, while certainly uncomfortable, would make it a little bit easier for the rebuild just based off the money already on the books. While the other two guys we talked about with Devon Achane, with Jalen Phillips, it'd be money that'd be on the books for years to come. You're looking at probably 4 or 5 year deals each, looking around $20 million plus for the two of them. And while I still would, my heart tells me to keep Achane, when you can free up money to bring in a new GM and a new head coach and let them spend the money, hopefully wiser than this current regime has, I'd understand if they did it. There's other moves this Dolphins team can make by getting rid of a Zach Sealer, getting rid of Jalen Waddle. I don't think those two make sense. I think you're looking at cornerstones of either sides of the ball. Zach Sealer, how he's been brought up on this Dolphins team, how we found him off waivers. I think he's somebody. Now, I really hope that news doesn't come out proving otherwise. I think he's somebody that, as long as you keep giving him good money, which is obviously expected, he is somebody that I think will be a good leader for this Dolphins team going forward. We took him off a practice squad. We nourished him into a really good player. We paid him well for it. I expect him to be a good leader on this Dolphins team and can be for the remainder of his career. And then Jalen Waddle, since Tyreek has gone down, he has stepped up when needed. He can still be a really good piece on this Dolphins team, whether it be with Tua or with somebody else. I don't want to move Waddle. I don't want to move Sealer. I'd consider moving Achane, but the other people I mentioned and a few other pieces on this team that, if I just quickly go through the Dolphins contracts, Tyreek is going to get cut after the season ends. Austin Jackson, probably not able to move him. Beyond him, you're looking at guys on short-term deals. 3-year deal for Jordan Brooks. His contract runs up at the end of next year. I can see him being moved. He, at least at the end of last week, led the NFL in tackles. Jason Sanders, he probably ends up staying with the team. Aaron Brewer, hard to move an offensive lineman in season. Alec Ingold, there's not a whole lot of massive deals beyond those few guys up top that I mentioned, and then the young players coming through. But there's going to be moves made. There's going to be uncomfortable moves made. Guys are going to be leaving this team that you love, and we're just going to have to deal with it. So let me know down below in the comments, who do you think is going to end up getting moved? Who do you want to see get moved? Let me know all that down below. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.